Fear of trains. The fear of trains is anxiety and fear associated with trains, railways, and railway travel. Psychoanalysts, starting from Freud himself, associated sensations towards travel by train with sexuality. In 1906, Freud wrote that the link of railway travel and sexuality derives from the pleasurable sensation of shaking during the travel. Therefore, in the event of repression of sexuality, the person will experience anxiety when confronted with railway travel. Carl Abraham interpreted the fear of the uncontrollable motion of a train as a projection of the fear of uncontrolled sexuality. Wilhelm Steckel also associated train phobia with rocking sensation, but in addition to libido repression, he associated it with the embarrassment with the reminiscences of the rocking sensation of the early childhood. Freud himself was suffering a kind of train anxiety, as he confessed in a number of letters. He used the term Reisenangst for it, which literally means fear of travel, but it was recognized it was primarily associated with the travel by train, and some translators translated Freud's Reisenangst as railroad phobia. However, Freud's anxiety was not a true phobia. Regardless of sexuality, since early days various authors associated the uncontrollable motion of the train with the fear of derailment, of a catastrophe. Another source of fear in the early days of railway travel was travelers' isolation from the outside world, as well as the confinement in a small compartment, rendering a person who became sick or subject to crime helpless. The loudest screams are swallowed up by the roar of the rapidly revolving wheels. This kind of fear, as well as actual crimes committed in trains, were often a matter of newspaper publications of the times. After a number of prominent cases, this fear was elevated to the level of collective psychosis. Public fear about rail travel was heightened after British surgeon John Erik Erikson described a post-traumatic diagnosis known as railway spine or Erikson's disease. People diagnosed with this had no obvious injury and were rejected as fake. Nowadays it is known that traffic accidents may cause post-traumatic stress disorder. It has been variously called as train phobia, railroad phobia, dread of railway travel, etc. The German term Eisenbahnangst, used, for example, by Sigmund Freud, was literally converted into Greek as psychodramophobia. In cases when this anxiety exceeds the social norms of the realistic fear, this anxiety may be classified as a specific phobia about trains. Campbell's Psychiatric Dictionary puts fear of trains under the vehicle phobia, together with fears of boats, airplanes, automobiles, and other forms of transportation. A 1913 short story Terror by Junichiro Tanizaki is a first-person narrative of a young man suffering of the morbid fear of travel in trains and streetcars. Tanizaki uses the German word Eisenbahnkrankheit, railroad sickness. Other travel-related anxieties include: other transport-related disorders include